Good evening. This is the Conscious Hour. And let's talk about the election coming up in Honduras. Let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about Venezuela. And let's, most importantly, I'll be talking about solutions. How do you, pardon the expression, unfuck the world? We keep repeating the same mistakes, war after war. Let's get into it. So, when we went in Vietnam, the reason why we were there, because we wanted resources. What the resource we really wanted in 1952 was the heroin, because we could get heroin out of what we call the Golden Triangle, which is Cambodia, Laos, and parts of Thailand, to fund our off-book operations. That's been going on for a long time. 1952 on, go to Afghanistan, same thing, heroin, opium, around the world. Drug cartels, drug business is good money. Billions and hundreds of billions of dollars are being transacted. There's mafias all over dealing drugs. It's been in the world forever. But the problem is that we're blowing up the world, and now we're going into, quote, Venezuela because they're drug runners, and that's a lie. We're going into Venezuela for the oil. That's the only reason. It's the old conquer. Oh, we're mighty mites, and we're going to steal your oil so we can make money. Just look at Donald Trump. He's the perfect example of the military-industrial complex on steroids. Now he's got power. He can go around, seize all these countries, seize their assets, and make money for their private funds of people that they keep funding money to. There's lots of money going to all their friends. So let's get into it. How do we solve the problem? Well, it's simple. So, for example, we'll take Honduras. I lived in Honduras from 2005 to about 2020. Then I left, go back and forth. But I'm an analyst. Nobody ever pays me. I just create solutions, then I go meet them. Like presidents, vice presidents, cabinet ministers, ambassadors, CIA, FBI, business leaders. They just come. I created a plan for Honduras called Honduras is Open for Business. It's a 4-part plan. Juan Orlando at the time was the president of Congress, and he adopted it. And one of those parts was the investment part, an investment protection law. So if you come down and invest, they're going to protect you. There were 4 parts. Don't want to get into it. Infrastructure was the most important one. They needed new roads. They needed everything rebuilt to make it for the future, get ready for the future. And Juan Orlando did a good job. He actually did. He did a really good job making everything well. But then they had an election, a second election. And normally in Honduras, the whole history is the election's called usually by Monday. Why? Well, because the 3 major areas that have the most voting bloc power is Tegucigalpa, the capital, Tegucigalpa, and also San Pedro Sula, and also Roatan in La Ceiba, those little 2 parts right there. Those 4 pieces have the biggest voting block. So usually by Monday morning, Monday afternoon, they call the election. But on that election, when he was running against Salvador Nasrallah, they didn't call it on Monday. They didn't call it on Tuesday, even though Nasrallah was ahead. And I went, they're fixing the books. They're cooking the books. They want Juan Orlando in. And by Wednesday, Nasrallah was still ahead. And then by Thursday, they called it, Juan Orlando won the election. Bullshit. It was stolen, and it was forced by the United States. And I'm saying, okay, great. I'm glad you did it, because Juan got to spend another 4 years building the infrastructure, whatever. But then there was this crash. His sister and 4 people, pilot, co-pilot, and another guy and her, left the presidential palace. They left the presidential palace, flew out, and 30 minutes out, they disappeared off radar. And there was this big hunt. Oh, where are they? Where are they? They can't find it. They can't find it. And I'm going, wait a second. I used to stay at the Marriott Hotel. I watch the helicopter fly all the time. Everything's got transponders. Oh, the transponder wasn't working. I said, so big deal. All you got to do is do a circle. You know which direction they were flying. Go 30 minutes out at the airspeed of an average airspeed and do satellite photos. You'd find the helicopter. They didn't find it. They didn't find it for 3 or 4 days or 5 days, and then they found it. And a friend of mine who's ex-intelligence sent me these pictures of these body bags coming out of the woods, and I started laughing. I said, "These are bullshit. You have dead bodies in the woods all the time. It could be anybody in those bags. I want to see the helicopter." Silence. "Give me a picture of the helicopter. It's bullshit." Silence. Then I keep going in and getting more involved. And then next thing you know, I find out about his sister. She was in Madrid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they moved $53 million into a Spanish bank account. Yeah. And Interpol knew this. They all knew it. It didn't make any difference. They're called robber barons. Look at Trump. Look at everybody enriches themselves. It's in power. Look at Joe Biden. Look at all your elected officials. Nancy Pelosi. Look at how much money they're worth. They're all making money on the side. So let's forget about, oh, it's immoral, it's illegal. No, it's just the way the world works. But let's get back to Honduras. And let's get back to how do we fix the problem. So when Trump was president, this man came and saw me. Yeah. He said, he was a Marine. He said, "Can I meet you at a cigar bar?" I said, "Sure, I'll meet you there, whatever." I don't smoke cigars. We sat and talked. We talked about Honduras. I talked about the coup d'etats they had. I talked about the starvation, the suffering that's growing. Think of the numbers of the population between 61 and 68% of the population in a 10-year period of time made less than $3, made $3.50 a day. Imagine that. Well, why is that? Well, because we have this free trade agreement and stuff like this. No, it's called slave trade agreement. Fruit of the Loom comes down there and they have these people working for $3.50 a day. And then they had a coup d'etat because another president before that, another president came in, Mel Zelaya. And what did he do the first 6 months he was in there? He raised the minimum wage from about $350 to $800 or $1,000 or was whatever it was. He raised it up. Let's say it was $1,000. Oh, that got everybody pissed off, especially the American manufacturers. We're going to have to pay that for those people. Now let's flash forward to where we are today. Juan Orlando was just released out of prison, okay, on a sweetheart deal. Sure, Trump released him. Okay, well, when Trump was president the first time, I got the call from this Marine. We went and met and talked. And then after 2 meetings, he said, "There's a guy from the president's office." I said, "You mean Trump's office?" He goes, "Yeah, he's going to come talk to you next month." I said, "Okay, whatever. I'll talk to him." So he shows up. Yeah. When we start talking, I said, "You know what's wrong with the Americans' relationship with foreign countries is they treat them like they're scumbags, like they're dirt, like they're just to be used for fodder. Just, throw them pennies and we can make massive profits." And I just said, it's got to stop. The U.S. can't intervene and allow this country to grow. Let them create a minimum wage, which should be well over $1,000 a month. Okay? And then I said, we got this drug problem. We run $1.4 to $1.9 billion worth of drugs through the Central American corridor, and it's off-book operations. And everybody knows it's there. And Juan Orlando's brother, Tony Hernandez, is in prison for life. And then, and I said, so why don't we just do this? Why don't we legalize the drugs, put it in the pharmacies, so where everybody's making money off it? Yeah. And the people can come down and party in Honduras because it's not illegal. They should just legalize drugs around the world and put it in the pharmacies so everybody's happy. But see, they keep playing this game. So Juan Orlando's back. Why did they bring him back? What was the deal? I don't know that yet. I have to go do what I do to figure out what was the rationale of it. Now, the guy that would be representing Juan Orlando is Asfura. That's who they want. But I don't think he's going to win. He looks like he's lower in the polls. It's between Rixi Moncada and Nasrallah. Nasrallah is ahead right now. The preemptive analysis, they're ahead by a good margin, which means that if they don't have some manipulation going on behind the scenes, like they did the first election, Nasrallah will be the president. Because in the first election, they didn't call it until Friday. Usually, every election is called by Monday afternoon. Why? Because Tegucigalpa, San Pedro Sula, and the island of Roatan are the biggest voting blocks. So they know by Monday afternoon for sure who's going to be the president. But in that election, they waited till Thursday. And then the Economist came out and did an article on it. They were analyzing this whole election cycle like I was, except they wrote about it. And they said it was statistically impossible that Juan Orlando could have won the election. So they stole it. Now the question is, will Donald Trump try to steal this election to get his buddy, Asfura, you could play with that name, as president, even though he's in third place? So we'll find out tomorrow. This is the Conscious Hour. Will we have democracy actually ruling, being fair elections in Honduras? I pray to God there is. Why? Because there's a whole plan. I brought it to them in 2010, but they kind of fucked it up because they got greedy and they didn't really want to do this and do this. When you create a master plan that benefits everybody, even the rich, because once you pay a livable wage, the rich get richer. Somebody says, no, that's not true. Sure it is, because the more goods and services your population then in those days was like 6 million, now it's like 12 or 14 million. When those people start buying and have purchasing power, you corporations will make massive more profits. That's what the Conscious Hour is about. It's called Unfucking the World, creating solutions for complex problems. And if you like it, share it. It's time for me to be the conductor. I don't charge for it either. I've never gotten paid for the work I've done. And all the work I did down there, never got a cent. I'm an outlier, but I don't lie. And I tell the truth. But I always have a vision of heaven on earth. So don't you think it's about time we create that? You want the solution for Netanyahu? That's a whole nother chapter. We can do that one real quick. Thanks for tuning in to the Conscious Hour. Hit your like button, share it, and it is a 501c3. I've never asked for money, but my funds over the last 2 years have been drained down. So if you want to donate to the cause, keep me going, it'd be greatly appreciated. Love, joy, passion, and compassion for all, folks. Let's create heaven on earth. What do you think?